Welcome to the Save Par Golf Podcast. I'm your host, Derek.
I'm your host, Dominic.
We're very excited about episode 80 as we welcome Mike Welch, who is the tournament director of the 3M Open. This is a special episode for us as the 3M Open is the PGA Tour event held in our own backyard, which is in the fine state of Minnesota. Mike, thank you so much for taking the time and joining us on the podcast. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Derek. Thanks, Tom.
Yeah, it's been a long winter, as you know. And so obviously with the sun shining, it's starting to warm up a little bit. I'd imagine that you're getting pretty excited as the 3M Open is kind of heading. It's going to be in July, of course. So like what are your thoughts right now as we're hoping that the warm weather is continuing to go?
It's coming. I mean, let's be honest, it's coming. It doesn't seem like it sometimes, you guys, but it's coming. You know, we got 94 days until 3M Open. And while that seems like a long ways away, it's not. It is be here before you know it. TPC Twin Cities just opened up on Sunday, so it's been open for 3 days now. It's nice to see golfers out there. Our offices are right off the 14th green, so we get a little bit of the vibe of everybody being there. I think courses are sporadically opening up around the metro, right? And so, you know, we're just excited. I mean, this is our fifth edition of the 3M Open. You know, technically four if you count if you don't count the COVID year, because we couldn't obviously have any fans during 2020. But you know, fifth edition, we're excited. We think it's growing, getting better every single year, and we're excited to do it again.
So, with your offices being right on the course, do you get FOMO watching people go out there every day?
Now, yes. In April and May, totally. In June and July, honestly, guys, like I don't even know what day it is, so like it doesn't even matter. And then once the tournament happens, you know, we utilize that course quite a bit, August, September, October, for a lot of our renewal conversations with corporate partners. So everybody says like, you must golf a lot. And I'm like, up until July 24th, I hardly golf. But after July 30th, I'm golfing as much as I can. So yeah, FOMO now, because I mean, like, what are these guys and gals doing? Do they have jobs or like they just take days off? Yeah, totally. What's going on there?
Right. Yeah, I'm in like a big, well, you're in it too, but you didn't really use it. We're in like a big Discord group with like another company we work with for like simulators and stuff. And they're like, hey, who can get out today? And I'm like, I'm at work. Like, do you guys not have jobs during the day? And if you do, how do I get your job?
Right.
I think people start. So again, like this is kind of a special time for us Minnesotans, right? We have the weather is starting to warm up. So everyone and everybody wants to get on the golf course. So they're packed. And then we have playoff hockey right now, the Timberwolves playoff basketball, the Twins are starting. So we have us Minnesotans have a lot to look forward to right now. And we just need that warm weather to really come sooner than later. Right.
Agree, man. I mean, this is why we live here, right? From April through October, this is why we put up with November through March, because sports are starting, the lakes are unfreezing, golf is starting. Like, honestly, and I think you guys might agree. I mean, there's no better place to be for these 6 months. The other 6, you know, that's up for debate.
Right. We always say like it's Minnesota's 2 seasons. It's winter and then it's construction season, right? And it's kind of
road work.
Exactly. But no, just to transition, we do have a lot of 3M Open questions for you, but I'd like to just take a few minutes and just kind of learn a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so this is my 4th year as the tournament director. I came over after the 2009 edition that Matthew Wolf won, if you remember who that guy is. And so, so I came in after spending 13 seasons with the Minnesota Timberwolves and Minnesota Lynx. My last role there was the vice president of corporate partnerships. So we handled all the advertising for both organizations, a lot of the on-court activation signage when you go to a Timberwolves or a Lynx game. And so Hollis Kavner, I'm sure you guys know him. He's an icon around these parts and started the 3M championship many, many years ago, was looking for a tournament director more from the revenue and marketing mindset, and it fit very well with my skill set. I've always been a lover of golf. I didn't really start playing the game very actively until I got done with college. I played college baseball at Winona State, which is a D2 school a couple hours south of here. And after I got done with that, you know, the baseball and the golf swing doesn't really jive very well together. And so once I was finished with baseball, I was like, this golf is kind of cool. And, you know, you don't put your body through a lot of stuff. So I really fell in love with the game. I've always been in business and in sales, and for those that are in that industry, they know how effective golf is for closing business. I've always said that golf is the great equalizer. You can learn more about somebody in 4 hours in a golf cart than you can even working with them. because you get to see both the good and bad of that man or that woman. And so I fell in love with the game, and it led me to the 3M Open. And so, we have 11 people on staff at the 3M Open. We work for a company called ProLink Sports. We operate 6 PGA Tour tournaments, 3 on the PGA Tour. So in addition to the 3M Open, we also operate the Wells Fargo Championship, which is next week. And then also the Valspar Championship, which is in Tampa at Innisbrook, that was just held a couple months ago. And then we run 3 on PGA Tour champions as well. And so we're one of the largest golf tournament operators that there is on the PGA Tour. And so there's just a wealth of knowledge between all of our folks in all of our different cities. And so the 11 of us focus solely on the 3M Open, but we also help out at the other tournaments. And so it's a phenomenal group of people. They're extremely fun to work with. They're great at their craft. And I just personally feel super blessed to be in the position and having a ton of fun, you guys.
That's fantastic. I had no idea that that's how that worked. I mean, me and Don, we planned our first scramble event last summer and realized how much goes into a scramble event. So I can only imagine, planning a PGA Tour event or multiple events. Well, so that's fantastic.
Even the one we're doing now, where it's bigger and out of state, and we're just like, what are we forgetting?
Yeah, there's always some sort of component that we might be missing. And so that's very cool. And that was kind of one of our questions that we kind of wanted to pick your brain on, just all the different facets that go into it. I know, so the 3M Open, the 2023 3M Open starts July 4th or July 24th through the 30th, which happens to be I believe the second to last tournament leading up to the FedEx
Correct.
Open playoff. So is that something that changes the field up a little bit for you guys?
Big time this year, Derek. I mean, and if you follow the PGA Tour, which I know you guys do, this is a really big year for our tournament and the Wyndham Championship, which follows our tournament. They've whittled down the FedEx Cup playoffs from the top 125 to the top 70. So in years past, if you were a golfer 110, you felt pretty safe that you were going to get into the playoffs. If you were a golfer 70, you weren't playing one of these last 2 tournaments because you knew you were squarely in, right, for the FedEx Cup playoffs. Now, if you're in position 55 or higher than that, you don't really know. And as you guys know, you look at the FedEx Cup standings, there's some darn good players from 55 to 120. So we just organically think our field's going to be much better because of just that subtle change, right? So now we're also the second to last tournament where we follow the the Open Championship, then us, and then the Wyndham Championship, and then it goes to the FedEx Cup playoffs. So we're really excited about what our field's potentially going to look like because we know that there's just some players that are not going to have good years, and they're going to get around to our tournament, and they're going to be 70 to 80th in FedEx Cup points. And, they don't want to miss out on that opportunity to get into the FedEx Cup playoffs. So they're going to need to play. So we're excited about what that's going to look like. And then, as you probably well know, all the changes that Commissioner Monahan and the PGA Tour folks have made for next year with the elevated events having the need to be in the top 50. Well, that starts this year. So that top 50 will be determined this year for next year, your eligibility to get into those elevated events. So now you need to be in the top 50. And so it's just going to be fascinating to see how our field shapes up. What I can tell you just specifically to the field and just how it's happening for PGA Tour tournaments already this year is these players are not committing until 2-3 weeks prior to the tournament. In years past, in my 4 years, some of these guys are committing 6 months in advance, 5 months in advance. And that's no longer happening. It's going to be okay. But from a marketing standpoint, we like to market who's coming to our tournament well in advance. We can get people excited. That's probably not going to happen this year. And why you'll see the majority of our marketing talking about the experience and then the give back to charity, which of course is so big for not only the 3M Open, but for all the PGA Tour tournaments.
Kind of to piggyback off that, because you kind of answered that question, but how long does it usually take for you to find out the full list of players that are playing? I know you just mentioned some people aren't going to commit, but majority, would you say it's a few months in advance, or is it going to be, like you said, most of it's going to be within a few weeks?
2 or 3 weeks. And then of course, our field is not set until Friday at 5:00 before the tournament. And I've heard some stories from tournament directors leading up and, here in 2023, where they're sitting there sweating at 4:53 because they thought Justin Thomas was going to commit and he's not on that commit list yet. And then at 4:55, he's committed. Now that's not a real life example, but right. Sort of sure. Like that. And so, that's, if you have Justin Thomas in your field, again, using him as an example, you want to market Justin Thomas, right? And so I think, we're trying to just get these folks committed. But I'm sure did you guys watch Full Swing on Netflix?
I did. That was actually going to be my next question, actually, for you.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So, I mean, like, you can see that, these guys are just regular dudes like me and you, but they just happen to be really dang good at the game of golf. And sometimes they just don't know when they're going to play because, they might want to go on vacation with their wife or their friends. And so I think that it's, frustrating is not the right word. We totally understand it. They're independent contractors. They're not part of a team. They're part of a PGA Tour, association, but they have the right to make and set their own schedule. And that's why we saw, 12 to 16 months ago, a number of folks defect because they didn't want to play as much and they wanted the flexibility to just kind of do what they wanted to. So listen, I get it. It is what it is. And we're going to continue to recruit every single one of these guys from player number 1 in the world to player number 155 in the world to try to get them to commit to the 3M Open.
That's cool. Oh, that's wild that you won't know the field until like mid-July. Or at least start knowing.
Right. And especially that, like you said, like in the advertising or marketing side, that's got to be a whole new transition for you guys. Cause that's, the biggest part is once you kind of get some of those major golfers, and that's what you're doing. You're posting that on social media. Yeah. So that's got to be a difficult task, I'd imagine.
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah. That's crazy.
We'll have 156 guys committed to our tournament in a couple of weeks. But it's, of the, I don't even know how many are eligible guys. Let's just call it 300 are eligible. It's 156 out of those 300. And then of course, there's a pecking order, right? So if John Rahm and Rory McIlroy want to commit to the 3M Open, they're going to knock out 155 and 156 in our field, right?
Yeah,
so
that makes sense.
We'll know our field, but Dom, it's respectfully not the field of 156 right now that we want on July 23rd.
Sure.
Our tournament planning is more or less just making sure everyone shows up and the weather holds out.
Yep.
Us
too.
Yeah, I was going to say so our tournament was held on June 11th last year, and it
poured June 10th.
The whole day, and then all of a sudden, like right before the tournament started, it was probably one of the most beautiful days, so it worked out perfectly. But that is awesome. One of those factors, though, that you're just like,
yeah, you weren't in the car with me, but I was with the Tour Pro, and we're making sure everybody's where they're supposed to be. And he goes, "Yeah, I thought I'd sleep in today." We're looking at the weather, and I was like, "Well, I'm glad you're here."
Yeah, it worked. Yeah, we got it to work, so that was good. So my next question I was gonna ask you if you did watch the Full Swing, the documentary. I thought it was very cool that we watched Tony Finau. That the whole episode about Tony Finau. It just seems like that family man's got multiple kids, and obviously he was the 2022 champion at the 3M Open. So, what were your thoughts on the Full Swing documentary? And Tony Finau in general seems probably like one of the most humble and nice human beings you probably could ever meet.
He seems like one of the best people to represent a champion for the 3M Open, especially in Minnesota. With all the Minnesota nice stuff and everything, I feel like Tony's probably one of the best winners we could have had.
Yeah, very well said, and couldn't agree more. I would say that, of course I watched Full Swing. Goodness. I basically was waiting for that thing to drop, and then I had like 3 episodes knocked out. I knew that Tony was episode 6. I did skip ahead to episode 6 just to watch that one first, because then, as you guys know, it really wasn't in chronological order, so it didn't really matter. I think why we are so excited, and everybody who is in the golf industry was so excited for Full Swing, is because we saw what it did for F1 racing. I don't know the first thing about F1 racing, right? But you get to know these guys and gals and their families intimately because of what Netflix does just an unbelievable job of. And so I knew, and we had talked to the show's creator quite a bit. We had him on a Zoom call with a lot of our sponsors a few days prior to the release, and he kind of gave us a little bit of inside baseball. And he's like, people are going to be blown away by the personalities of these guys that are just so stoic on the course or don't seem like they have a personality. So Joel Damon, right? I mean, we got a glimpse of what Joel Damon was like at WM Phoenix Open when him and Harry Higgs took off his shirt, right? And chugged the beers. So we knew that he was a little bit like that. But to see how self-depreciating he was, which us as regular golfers can totally relate to, because we think we're crap every single time we go on the golf course. And so does Joel Damon. But he's the 70th ranked player in the world or whatever he was, and made like $4 million last year. So it's so relatable. And that's really cool to see. And so for us, one of the things we're trying to do in the world of golf is just get a younger, more diverse fan, right? I think for years prior to COVID, golf was known as, respectfully, an old white man sport, right? And now, since COVID, we're seeing an explosion of women playing the game. We're seeing explosion of BIPOC, golfers, right? I mean, especially on the African American demo, we're seeing a lot of that, and you're seeing folks like Roger Steele, who came out to the 3M Open last year, and the Vibes Golf Club, all those guys that used to play football at the University of Wisconsin that are now forming this golf club. We had them out at the 3M Open last year. We got them involved in our Golf for All Day, and that's been really cool to see. And so I think what that does when Full Swing is released, it brings in, my wife's not a good example because she's into it because I work for it. But the regular Joe and Sally who just love Netflix and are scrolling through the shows and like, oh, that looks kind of interesting. Let's check that out. Now they might love the game, and we're hoping that they're going to buy tickets to the 3M Open this year. So we're just super excited about what that did for the game of golf. Obviously, the players that were involved in it are really excited. You probably saw all the metrics, all of them like 2x or 3x their social media following. So of course they love that. And
trying to get the PIP, right? The PIP, the bonus, right?
Yeah, the bonus. Yeah.
Exactly.
I come from the NBA, and the NBA does social media better than any other league by far, right? I mean, at one point, Steph Curry had more social media followers than the NFL, MLB, and NHL combined. This was probably 9 years ago, right? Sure. And obviously that's changed now. But the NBA does an incredible job on social media, and golf's getting there. I mean, still has a long way to go, but golf's getting there. And so what that does for a tournament like a 3M Open is it just opens up the possibilities for more fans. We always talk about, we want the golf curious fan. We want the person that goes to Topgolf, that is intrigued by golf, doesn't really necessarily love it, but thinks of golf and thinks of a good time. We want that to translate to come into the 3M Open. So all those things, when a show like Full Swing comes out, really helps us and resonates with us.
The only thing that I don't like about the Full Swing is now I have to wait for the next series to come out, because the same thing, my wife is not like a huge golf fan by any means, but again, we're watching Netflix, like, oh, this looks really interesting, and I obviously knew it was coming out, so I was like, let's just watch it. And the same, she starts kind of after like the second or third episode, like, who's that? And it's like you start to like get invested, and that's kind of the whole point of this documentary, right? And you get to see some of the things that obviously that we just, when we're watching it on TV, we don't really get to see actually what they kind of go through. Going back to Joel Damon, like that, I'm sure he gained so many more fans just knowing that it's so relatable that yes, he's on a whole nother level as far as a competitor and a golfer than most of us, but he still goes through the same type of thing.
Point at me?
Well, I was trying to do this, this guy, but my point is that like we can relate to that, even though he's leaps and bounds way ahead of us. So
my favorite part was seeing him think he missed the cut.
Yeah,
he's drinking with lunch, and I'm like, my guy. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I gotta go back out, and I'm just like,
and then he still he makes it. It was just
that's unreal athleticism from a guy who wears a bucket hat. I love it. I can say that because I wear a bucket hat.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I was a volunteer the last 2 years. I was on the hospitality. No, not hospitality. I was like checking tickets.
Okay, cool.
I don't remember what committee it was. I feel bad because I love those guys. And I had the big bucket hat because they put me at VIP, and there's no shade at VIP.
No.
So I'm sitting there. I'm the kid of the big 3M Open hat and everything, and that's how I met Roger Steele. And
yeah, he's awesome.
You met Roger?
Great things for them.
Yeah, so we've actually reached out to Roger in the past to come on.
Yep.
And it's just nothing's lined up yet. But they're like, hey, you're young. I was like, I am young, thank you. they gave me this list of names to give people their like badges for. It was like during the pro-am. And I recognized Roger right away because I follow him.
Yeah.
I was like, hey man, I'm not supposed to talk to you, but like I'm with Safe Party. He goes, oh, yeah, I know you guys. And I was like, yeah, just so you know, I'm a big fan of you. Thanks for growing the game, blah, blah, blah. Here's your pass. Have a great round. We just had a short little conversation. So we're hoping that kind of materializes into something.
Yeah, he's a world-class traveler and golf guy,
Yeah.
so he's always moving.
I know we'll touch on it later for your favorite moment, but my favorite moment actually at the 3M was how Rudolph came through the line and they had me give him something. And I was like, I know you. And I look up at him. I'm like, shit, you're big. And he kind of looks at me and just laughs. And he goes, I know. And I was like, good, because you're huge.
Hopefully, Kyle will be back. I know he's obviously not on the Vikings anymore.
He wasn't on the
back.
Vikings.
No, he wasn't. True.
I just talked to Kyle a couple of days ago. He's going to be back, and he'll be a part of 3M Open in a big way. But isn't it amazing how big Kyle is? Like, I still can't get over how big of a human that dude is.
I've watched him on TV and everything, and then like you see him on the sidelines next to the other guys, you're like, oh, he looks like a normal sized guy, and then you see him, he had a polo on. I'm just like, oh my god! I verbally said it. He just kind of laughed at me and he was like, yeah. I'm like, dude, what do they feed you?
Yeah, he's amazing. He's a great dude.
Yeah, super nice guy.
So what are some of like your favorite things about the 3M Open golf tournament right now?
Oh man, jeez, that's a loaded question.
It's a loaded question. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, well, first and foremost, and this, I don't know if this is going to be corny or what have you, but I think what people just need to realize is, we donate anywhere from 1.2 to 1.5 million to about 20 charities in the Twin Cities region. That's the backbone of what the PGA Tour and its tournaments do, right? The PGA Tour and its tournaments have given over $3.5 billion since the inception of the tour. That's more than the NBA, NHL, NFL, and MLB combined in the other four leagues, because that's what the model is. It's most of these tournaments, all the tournaments, are nonprofit. So for us, we raise, money through the sale of corporate revenues, all the hospitality, all the pro-ams, all the signage, everything you see, right? We pay off the operating expenses of the tournament. And then hopefully there's about $1.5 million of profit that's left that goes into charity. So we're net zero at the end of this. And then we start it all over the year for next year, right? And that's how all these tournaments go. So if you go to WM Phoenix Open, who's been doing this for 89 years, and it's super successful and it's the greatest show on turf, right? They don't give 1.5 million. They give 13.7 million to local charities. Wow. And so that model is just unheard of. And so, we just had an event last week, Wednesday at M Health Fairview. They opened up a new community health and wellness hub where if you're suffering from mental health issues or you literally can't feed your family, this center is there for you, for the St. Paul community, where you can go and get help if you need it from a mental health perspective. If you need food, you can go get food because there's boxes that are already packed full of food and groceries and just, household needs. And part of the money that we give to ML Fairview Foundation every year goes towards this community health and wellness hub. So we're there and we're packing boxes and we see the people come up, and that's real. That's tangible. That's what, why we plan 358 days of the year for these 7 days of the tournament, so that the output goes to these communities in need. And, so that by far is my most favorite thing of the tournament, because that's just one of 50 stories where every year we're doing something new for these charities. 3M, our title partner, it's the main reason why they're the title partner, because they can, have such an impact on so many of these great organizations. So that, I think first and foremost, guys, that's one of the best things of our job. The second part is, I would just say, and this goes back to what kind of we opened the show with, was, we have 6 months out of the year, hopefully sometimes more, where we can just do something, right? And we're just anxious to do something in those 6 months. And, our event is fun. Like, it's fun to plan. It's fun to be at. Dom, thanks again for volunteering. Like, it's fun to volunteer at. We depend on 1,550 volunteers to put our event on. If we don't get that 1,550 volunteers, we struggle, right? And so, like, it's for the community. It's a volunteering event. It's a lot of fun. It's outside in the Minnesota summer. Yes, I know that all 4 years this year since we've done this have been like 93 degrees and humid. I can't promise 75 and a cool breeze all 4 days this year, but like you'll never hear me complain about a Minnesota summer because of kind of what we just endured for the last 6 months. And so, I just love going outside in the mornings when the sun's rising and the TPC superintendent and his crew are rolling the greens on, Thursday of day one. And the first T-ball is going to be hit at 6:52 and it's like 5:30. Like there's something really magical about that, right? Especially if you love the game of golf. And then we just know in about 3-4 hours later, there's going to be 10 to 15,000 people on our grounds enjoying, the only PGA Tour tournament in Minnesota and really the upper Midwest. And so that's really cool. So I'd say, if I had to pick two, those are probably the two things that we love the most about the 3M Open.
So I don't know if you've ever listened to any of our other episodes. I'm not a morning person, at all. Like I stayed out too late last night and then I had a meeting at 8 a.m. this morning and I had to set an alarm for 6 and I was like, do I really need this? And I was like, I do. So for me to volunteer, I'm really into the 3M Open. Everyone's like, why do you volunteer if you don't like mornings? I'm like, it is one of the most fulfilling things to see people that excited about golf at 8 a.m. or whatever the gates open, whatever time.
Yeah.
I think that is the most fulfilling thing. And just having people just seeing the joy, especially on little children's faces who are like, man, I want to go see DJ for a little bit, or man, I want to go see Tony for a little bit. I think that is one of the coolest things to experience as a volunteer. Other than randomly running into Kyle Rudolph and stuff like that. But
yeah,
it's hard to really put into words because it is so it's fulfilling. It's so much fun though. I mean, the crew I was on was super fun. It was always entertaining to talk to everybody because everybody, I mean, they're volunteers from all over. There's a lady who was checking tickets with me and she and her husband traveled the country doing the events. Or volunteering.
Volunteer all over.
Yeah, so she's from Louisiana, but she's gone to a bunch of different of the events and volunteers. That's what she and her husband do.
Sure.
And it's I don't know.
That's awesome.
It's
Actually,
one of the coolest things I've ever been a part of. So I've done it 2 years. I was going to do it this year, but just with our tournaments and then stuff we have planned, it's not going to quite work out for me to volunteer for a week. But I'm really it's exciting. I love it. So I think for me, if you're listening and you're in Minnesota or you're interested in volunteering, the 3M is a great way to start. You get a shirt and everything with it, hat, you get a goodie bag, which is super cool. But it's worth it. It's so much fun.
Well, volunteering in general, just giving back. You're donating your time. I think that's important.
I never felt like it was oh, you're donating your time. It's I genuinely had fun because you can kind of roam around after. And
for sure.
Yeah.
Well,
it's a great deal. I mean, when you pay $80, right, to volunteer, which some people are like, wait a minute, I'm paying to volunteer. But to your point, Tom, you get a hat, you get a polo, you get a 3/4 zip. But then what I think the best part is, the 3 shifts that you volunteer, right? It's usually 3 shifts, 4 to 6 hours. The other 4 days, and even after or before your shift, you get a free ticket. So if you love it and you love golf, you're in free, right? So you work your 4 to 6 hours and then you're there for the rest of the day. So yeah, I think what we're just trying to do is just spread that word around. Again, a portion of your $80 is actually going to that 1.5 million that gets donated. So, whether you care about the tax write-off or you just care about philanthropy and doing good, that's something that's really cool about volunteering as well.
I love that. Kind of piggybacking off that as well. Minnesota nice, right? It's a saying that gets kind of tossed around a lot for us Minnesotans. We had the pleasure of having Josh Mayer on the podcast, who was out doing some interviews, social media content for last year's 3M Open tournament. And I had asked him a question on the podcast in regarding of to Minnesota and 3M Open, what stuck out the most. And he said that just the amount of people that were so incredibly nice. And that's not just at the tournament. It was the volunteers at the tournament. Just the whole hospitality thing was fantastic, but it was even the experience outside. He was talking about how he went to Home Depot and it was the lady literally walked him through the whole store, and he's he just never really experienced that. And I think that's kind of what the 3M Open is kind of all about, right?
Yeah. It's funny. I'm going to be with Josh in a couple weeks and his wife. I'm going down to Dallas for the AT&T Byron Nelson, and Josh and his wife are going to come with me to the PGA Tour Wives Gala because it's going to be held in Frisco. Josh resides down in the Dallas area, and I think that we'll have him back this year at the 3M Open. I mean, you talk about a dude that's self-made, right? I mean, 1.6 million TikTok followers just because he does really cool stuff with golf clubs. Like, what a world we live in. I love it, man. He's a great dude.
I would love to meet Josh like in person. Like the pod was super fun with him.
Yeah,
I still remember we were kind of waiting for him to get on, and we're just chatting, and then he pops on and he just goes, "Hey guys, what's up?" Just like we've known each other for like 10 years.
Like we're best friends.
Yeah, like I'd love to meet Josh in person. That'd be so cool.
Can you tell us a little bit about some of the events or the exhibits that you guys have for the 2023 3M Open?
Yeah, I think we're going to have certainly some new things because as an event, you need to reinvent yourself every year. Back to, how we are really just focused on getting that golf curious or event seeker, non-core golf fans of the 3M Open. I think one of the things we talked about last year, is how can we create this vibe? When I took this job, everybody said, how can we become the Waste Management Phoenix Open of the North? So I went to the WM Phoenix Open in 2021 and I came back and I said, we're not going to be the WM Phoenix Open of the North. It just ain't gonna happen. There's only one of those. Yep. And first of all, it takes a long time to get to be that. It's only been that way for 14 years or so, right? Yep. But we can take bits and pieces of that. So, we're going to try to create a little bit of a vibe on the 18th hole this year. If you're familiar with TPC Twin Cities and how we set up our 18th hole around the water, we got all of our hospitality around the water. But on the right side of the water, if you are Gary Woodland or Matthew Wolf, that's where you hit your drive because you go way right. We're going to put a party deck over there this year, and Stilly. If you've had a Stilly yet, based out of Stillwater, they're going to be the sponsor of it, and so we're going to have the Stilly party deck. And so we're really trying to track that 21 to 35-year-old male and female. It's going to be all you can drink Stilly, all you can drink AB products, Pepsi products. We have a local restaurant called Tipsy Steer here in Blaine that has amazing food. They got a food truck that they're going to be the food over there. It's going to be an all-inclusive ticket you can drink, and there'll be some food for purchase. And we're just going to create a vibe. We're going to partner with iHeartMedia. We're going to have a DJ playing music from 12 to 5 every day on that party deck. We're going to have Kyle Rudolph there, Dom. We're going to have other celebrities and athletes do like 1-2 hour rotations. We're going to have bags, cornhole, chippo. So we're just trying to create a little bit of a vibe over there so that, the golf is secondary, right? And so how do we continuously get the younger fan to the 3M Open that go back and tell their friends if you're not here, you're missing out. You need to be back at the Stilly party deck next year. So that's one thing we're going to be doing new this year, and we're really excited about. We think that we can take that and replicate it in a few other areas like WM has done, like a few other tournaments has done. And then this year, 3M is blowing out their activation. So if you remember the last 2 years, they've had the big dome on the 18th hole there. And inside, they've done some incredible things. This year, they're actually going to go away from the dome. They're still going to have that same footprint over there, but they're going to make their activations more golf-centric and more science and AR and VR specific. So people are going to be blown away by what they're doing inside of there. So, if you went in there respectfully the last couple of years, you probably spent 10 to 15 minutes in there because it was really cool and you could see the 360 panel on the dome. Now you're going to go in there and there's going to be 10 to 12 activations. They're going to have a be the ball activation where you can manually move a golf ball with an iPad and steer it into a hole that I've done I did a President's Cup, and it's just wild. They're going to have this thing called Putt View, which is AR. You put on these like an Oculus type thing, and you can actually get down and read the green. You can look at this green, and the grid will pop on for you and show you how you need to hit that putt. And I'm like, geez, can you use that in real golf, right? Mm-hmm. So they're going to have a ton of things. Yeah, right. They're gonna have a ton of things in their activation that's going to be super fun, new for the fan. And then, we'll probably have some new food and beverage partners. Again, just how do we reinvent ourselves year over year so that people just come back and say, hey, 3M Open is doing it again this year. They're making it, where I have to circle this date on my calendar. I can't just miss it every year.
I love it. That sounds good. I think the 18th hole too is like perfect because that is a very popular spot for the with that water right there. I think that's a prime spot.
Well, in the past they've had like that's usually where all the food trucks are, kind of in that shaded area.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And big ass chairs.
The big chairs.
Yeah. Yep. They'll be down there.
I love that spot.
So there are obviously plenty of golfers and people that come from all over the country, right? My question to you is when some of these golfers or players or fans, family members come to the 3M Open, are there any like places that you suggest or that you guys recommend as far as like restaurants? Or I know obviously you're not too far from the Minneapolis. I live in downtown Minneapolis, so it's not very far, but I lived in Ham Lake for a while, right near your guys' golf course. So
for reference, I live in Andover.
Yeah, so we're all kind of in that same area. But are there places that you suggest or recommend?
Oh man, I mean, yes. Like if you want to stay in the Blaine area, there's actually incredible independent right now. No, see, we got to get rid of this misconception that there's not great restaurants in the Blaine area. There's some incredible independent restaurants in Blaine, and there's a friend of the organization who owns 4 restaurants in the Blaine area, and they're all amazing. So whether it's Bricks, whether it's Blues Roadhouse, whether it's T-Box. I mean, they have some amazing restaurants. So there's plenty to do in the Blaine area. But when I worked downtown Minneapolis, what I miss most about not being down there is the food, right? And so we have Parlor Burger up at the 3M Open. You can't ever go wrong with Parlor, right? No matter where you are, if you're in St. Paul or Minneapolis. I would just say that what we're trying to do is just showcase the northern metro area. I think there's some really big things coming in this area over the next 2 to 3 years. There's this misconception that Blaine, number one, is so far away, but if you lived in Minneapolis and you wanted to go to the Ryder Cup in Chaska at Hazeltine, it's longer to go there than it is to go to Blaine, right? So
big time.
I just think the North Metro gets a little bit of a bad rap. Dom, you said Chipotle is the best restaurant in Blaine. We got to get rid of that, right?
That was a lie.
That's why I asked that question, right? So you could answer for us.
Throw out another answer because I used to work in Blaine, so there's a Chipotle, right? I'm not wrong. There is a Chipotle.
There is a Chipotle, yeah.
There is. Yeah, there is.
But I agree though. I've had a couple of those restaurants and they're all very good.
Yeah, Bricks is good. T-Box is good.
Yep. I mean, I think what you'll find is, regardless if you want to be up in Blaine or whether you want to come from, somewhere out of state or, far reaches of Minnesota, you can go to Roseville, you can be in St. Louis Park, you can be in Golden Valley and still be 15 to 20 minutes away. Right. And so, I think, our goal is at some point to bring music and a concert back in 2019. Since COVID, those types of things have just gone through the roof from a cost perspective. And as a new tournament, we're still just trying to get, our feet on us and making sure that we can put on a very profitable event that gives back to the community at the end of the year. So all those things are coming back. We just need to get out of this, this era. I mean, we really haven't, this is what I call this is our first normal second year. We had 2019, then COVID happened. Then after COVID was, if you remember, there was the Olympics and we basically lost everybody to the Olympics, right? And then that Live Golf Tour thing happened last year. So we finally feel like this is a normal year. And, we're just excited about this year.
Absolutely. We'll wrap it up here. Appreciate your time. We just got some rapid fire questions for you real quick, and then we'll wrap it up here. So the first one is, what is your favorite hole on the TPC Twin Cities golf course?
18, not even close. Most balls in the water.
It's true on tour.
Yeah. Favorite restaurant?
Anywhere?
Anywhere.
Oh man.
I know it probably depends on the day and the mood of food you're in, what you're craving.
Yeah.
But we do favorite restaurant anywhere and then favorite local place.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. All right. Favorite restaurant in Minnesota, probably Demi. And then favorite restaurant in Blaine and Bricks. I love Bricks.
Brick is good.
We used to go there all the time when I lived in Ham. Like, I love it. Place is fantastic.
Great wings.
Yep.
What is your favorite golf event outside of the 3M Open?
The Masters.
Okay, that kind of makes sense.
You know, we thought long and hard about that, and then I was like,
all right, Donald, chances
lackluster. Have you ever? Holy smokes! Have you ever hit a hole in one? And if you haven't, what's the most memorable shot?
I've not hit a hole in one. Closest I've been is like 6 inches. My most memorable shot happened at hole 9 of TPC Twin Cities. Quick story. So my dad came and played 2 years ago. I'm from Milwaukee originally. He came up from Milwaukee, and we golfed with, you may know this, Governor Jesse Ventura is a member at TPC Twin Cities. And as you know, he's obviously a huge wrestler. Wrestling started in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. That's the birthplace of wrestling. My dad was the hugest wrestling fan. So we're golfing at TPC Twin Cities, and we get a scratch. We get a scratch of our foursome, and so there's an opening, and Jesse Ventura joins our group. My dad literally is losing his mind. He can't believe it that Jesse Ventura, the bodyguard, is in our group. Hole 9, I got 150 yards for my second shot. And by the way, all due respect, the governor doesn't care who's hitting, whose turn it is. He drives his cart. He's at the green.
So
I'm on my second shot. Just takes off. 150 yards, second shot. He's at the green, waiting for me to hit so he can go putt. Hit a shot like I can 9-iron, drawing it in. The one time I can draw it, 2 bounces in the cup for an eagle. And I mean, the governor puts his hands up and he's like, "It's in." And my dad went and gave him a big body hug. He didn't even hit the shot. It was my shot. He just went to go attack Jesse.
That's awesome. That's a great story.
So I actually have a favorite golf shot. You don't know this. You probably don't remember this. We were playing Como in, what is it, St. Paul?
Oh, I remember. That was when I shot a 76.
Yeah, I know. I was there.
Whoa.
Yeah, we're not talking about that, though. Talking about my shot.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
If you remember, this is one of the last holes, and I've been hitting my 5-wood. Like, it's been bad all day. And you're like, here, stand like this, put your head like this. And I just piped it. Derek throws his arms up. He's like, why can't you always do that? And to this day, I still can't do that again. But it's one of my favorite moments because Derek was proud of me.
I was. Yeah.
You need to get more pointers from Mr. 76 over here.
Trust me,
that's a rare occurrence.
He tells everybody I'm the most coachable person he's ever met.
He is.
So trust me, Derek's my coach unofficially because I don't pay him,
and I'm not very good. So at least I'm pretty much in the 80s. I'm a 10 handicap.
Okay, so. Mr. 76.
But yeah, right.
Favorite moment at the 3M Open.
Was that the one I was supposed to read?
Yeah, that's okay though.
Oh,
I like that. That was perfect.
Well, okay.
Geez. This is off the grid because we've had 4 winners, right? Can you name our 4 champions, by the way, or no?
Tony Finau,
Cameron Champ, Matthew Wolf.
Yep, and then it was an older gentleman that won it. The other guy, and I'm drawing a blank.
This is my favorite moment because
the gentleman
nobody remembers. And now, to be fair, it was 2020. It was the COVID year, so there were no fans there. It was Michael Thompson.
Michael Thompson, yeah. See, we were putting you on the spot on all these questions. You just reversed it on us right there.
I flipped the script, right? I flipped it.
Yeah.
304 is passing.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a passing grade.
Hey, my son, if any of my sons get a 75%, they're in their room. No, so Michael Thompson wins a tournament. He won one other time on tour 7 years prior. And he just breaks down and he can't believe how this has changed his life. He's got a card for the next 2 years. He calls his wife. His son at the time was maybe 2 or 3, and he's got him on speakerphone. And you could just see how life-changing that moment was for a guy that is in the top 1% of golfers in the world who's been grinding and finally broke through. And it was just such a powerful moment to be a part of. And honestly, he hasn't really done much since, right? And so it just shows to show you how hard this sport is and how good the tour is. I mean, this tour is funneling in new talent year over year over year, and a great golfer like Michael Thompson is having a tough time still winning or breaking through because the talent is so damn good on tour.
I love that answer. That's fantastic. We call them rapid fire questions, but they're really not rapid fire, right?
Yeah.
It always has a good answer. But so we got 2 more questions for you. When you're not working, what type of activities activities do you guys like that you like to do or participate?
Oh man, I got 4 boys, 17, 15, 13, and 11. They all play baseball,
Good God.
basketball, football. I coach them and many of them. They golf for free time. You know, we golf at TPC. So my plate is full, man, but I wouldn't change it. Like before we know it, this is going to be gone. And, you know, I got one that's already looking at colleges. And so there's a reason why I got bags under my eyes and all that stuff, because we're having a blast.
We can't see
but
it.
it is it's the best job in the world. And, you know, it's a ton of fun. So that's what I'm doing. I'm doing something with the fam.
Full plate. I love it though. Like you said, it only lasts for so long, right? So you got to take advantage of those moments. That's fantastic.
You know, my dad told me to move out and take my tools. So we were
total different.
Yeah, we were working on my car, and he goes, you know, you can move out and take your tools with you. And I was like, I know. But have you seen the housing market?
Last question for you. You kind of already hinted on this before, but how often do you get out and play?
I would say this year in 2023, I'll play 25 rounds of golf.
25. Okay, that's pretty solid. And I lied to you. I said it was the last question, but we typically end our last question is a food-related question.
Oh.
So if it was your last meal, what would that food be? It could be a restaurant or it could be any type of homemade meal. You could walk us through a whole day. It could be breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or it could just be one solid meal. What would it be?
You know, I just love steak, you guys. I'm a big steak guy. So I would just want the most unbelievable steak I've ever had. And honestly, like, I don't even really need anything else with it. So I would say a steak. Yeah. And I'm not even going to say like where, because I've had so many good steaks at different restaurants that, I don't want to prefer one or the other. I just want somebody to cook me an unbelievable steak, and maybe with a little peppercorn sauce, and then an old fashioned.
There you go.
You could do like one of those huge, like ridiculously big, like tomahawk steaks.
There you go.
Yes.
You know, because how often you're going to do that?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, give me. I'm probably outdating myself here, but give me the old 96er, right, from The Great Outdoors. If you remember that movie, John Candy. No, I know. I'm old.
I know who John Candy is, but it's a little bit past.
Yeah, we won't say when I was born. That makes everybody feel old.
Mike, it's been a pleasure, man. Thank you so much for taking the time, and keep up all the great work. And we look forward to seeing you out at the 3M Open this year.
Can't wait to see you guys out there, man. And thanks for just covering the sport and for all that you guys do in Minnesota. We love it.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot. You take care. We'll talk soon.
All right, guys. Take care.
Thanks. Yep.
Thanks, man.